Welcome back. You're watching News 9 Live. I'm Shweta Kothari. The Road Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari recently wrote a letter to the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman urging her to reconsider removing the goods and services tax on life and medical insurance. Gadkari argued that taxing medical insurance hinders the growth of this socially important sector. Now, currently, both life and medical insurance premiums attract a GST of 18%. Now, 18% goods and service tax adds to the high premium that insurers are charging. In a country like India, where insurance penetration is low, a high tax rate discourages people from getting insured or opting for higher cover. The issue has come up when the government has been raking up higher GST collections month after month. In July of 2024 alone, the government's GST collection stood at 1,82,000 crore, a 10.3% year-on-year increase. This is the third highest monthly collection since the GST regime kicked in 7 years ago. So is there a case to remove GST on medical and life insurance? While the life, general and health insurance industries have been advocating for a reduction in GST premiums to 12%, Gadkari has taken a more ambitious step by seeking complete removal of GST on both sectors. Is it doable? And if yes, what is the math that is going to go behind taking away or removing GST from both life and health insurance? Let's talk about that. Joining us on the show is Ritesh Kanodia. He's a partner at Aurtus Consulting, Indirect and Tax Advisory as well as Litigation. Ritesh, we also have some political reactions, but I want to come to you first. This is a issue that people have been facing for a while. The last you and I spoke was on GST and the next GST Council meeting, which is expected in the third week of August. To your assessment, is it now doable, 7 years since GST regime came into being, for both health and life insurance to now become tax-free?
Shweta, there was always a case for life and health insurance, whether we are at the seventh year of GST or even prior. In a country like India where insurance penetration is very low, and what is the objective of insurance? The objective of life insurance is to sort of, provide certain well-being to the members of the family once a person expires, or for example, to meet medical expenses if a person is unwell. And medical expenses in India are already very high and they are sort of shooting up. And considering that situation, an 18% GST on a further GST on that either the term insurance policies or on the mediclaim becomes a huge cost. One aspect is that who bears this cost? Obviously, the life insurance companies are not going to bear this cost, so they pass it on, to the end consumer who is the recipient of this insurance services. There is also one more facet to this entire discussion is the mediclaim policies which are being taken by companies, and typically that forms a very major chunk of those mediclaim policies. Under the GST law, even whatever GST charged is not available as credit to the corporates, thereby, which means that even if, let's say, and after COVID, what has been happening is a lot of companies, a lot of regulations are making this insurance mandatory. It's not an option anymore. So if it is mandatory, if there is a requirement to take insurance for employees, an 18% GST with no credit clearly comes as a hit. So considering all of this, yes, there has always been a case to not tax at least life and mediclaim. General insurance is a separate subject altogether. That I don't think so is a point of contention here.
Okay. So at this point, I think an important question would be, can the government afford to forego the money that it collects by the way of GST on both life and health insurance? And I have some numbers here, and perhaps you can add to it more. GST collected on health premium accounts to about 19,600 crore rupees, on life premium about 68,000 crore rupees. So total GST collected on the two is about 87,600 crore rupees. Can the government afford to forego that money?
So, Shweta, when you talk about a foregoing of any tax amount, that is basically a combination of two components. One is what you charge on the output, and the other is what is the input tax that is being charged to the insurance companies. So, what we are talking about is an exemption from the output.
Okay.
So, even if, let's say, for example, you remove the exemption from the output, it sort of put a stop to the fungibility of credit, right? It doesn't mean that all the expenses that the companies incur, that would be out of the GST net. So A, that the revenue foregone number would probably be much lower. So I would not know the exact percentage. Maybe if the output loss is at 18, then still the GST collections would sort of significantly come down to maybe a 10 or a 12.
Okay.
I would not have those numbers. Uh, having said this, when you talk about revenue foregone, etc., clearly the entire prospect is to, have an incremental GST revenue. But the question I think is health or mediclaim in a country like India the right source of those revenues? When you there is no social security in India, correct? So people will have to take their own insurance policies. So I think what needs to be, and see, what we've also recently seen is like the benefits under income tax which have been removed for insurance, etc. So is it not demotivating people to actually go for such policies, etc.? And is the statement to say that all these insurance policies, etc., which is or there is not relevant? Is the government not promoting people to say that go for insurances, go for life insurance or go for medical insurance? So I don't think that it's about loss of revenue. It is about a social welfare scheme that the government might want to sort of bring into play.
Okay, well, the government may want to bring into play, especially now that Road Transport Minister has written to Finance Minister. We also have some bites that have come in from various members of Parliament. Let's quickly listen into what they had to say.
मुझे लगता है कि जिस तरह अभी जीएसटी लगी है और जीएसटी से मतलब लोगों का नुकसान भी होता है, लोगों को, गरीब लोगों को, मिडिल क्लास के लोगों को तकलीफ होती है, तो गडकरी जी ने जो जिस तरह मतलब चिट्ठी लिखी है, जो 18% जो जीएसटी लगाई है वो कम करने के बारे में उन्होंने चिट्ठी लिखी है, उस पर जरूर निर्मला सीतारामन जी और माननीय मोदी साहब की सरकार जो है जरूर उस पर विचार करेगी और लोगों को राहत देने का काम करेगी.
I agree the GST must be removed from that thing. Not only that, the indiscrimination is going on in different states, in different business. The GST model. In Maharashtra, what is the 5%? In Bengal, it is 18%. I know some people, those who are busy with a different type of organization, profession, they are under this severely attacked due to the high level of giving GST for their own business and to maintain their profession. That is very, very unfortunate.
Taxing uncertainties of life, that is what Road Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari calls 18% GST on life and health insurance. We are discussing his proposal to completely remove that 18% GST vis-a-vis what industry is expecting, which is lowering of interest rates. Ritesh Kanodia, partner at Aurtus Consulting, is with us. Ritesh, if one were to compare the two arguments, or rather the two demands, one of course being that of Road Transport Minister that you must not tax uncertainties of life, versus what the industry is saying 18% is a bit much, why not bring it down to 12%? Perhaps that is a better solution. In your assessment, which of the two seems more probable as GST Council reconvenes in the third week of August? Ritesh?
If I look at
Right.
hello,
Yes.
I'm here,
Yes.
Shweta. Yeah. Shweta, if I look from the industry perspective, industry will also be worried about the loss of credit if, let's say, this life insurance policy gets exempted. And it really depends upon what is the cost of that credit. So let's say, for example, if whatever expenditure that the companies are incurring and the cost of credit is around 12-13%, of course they would be more keen on lowering of rate because it then makes their credit fungible, and that's probably the reason why life insurance companies might be insisting on a 12% rate rather than an complete exemption from GST, because exemption from GST would mean they would also lose credit on their expenditure. So
Right.
my sense is that industry would more prefer a lower 12% rate. And to be honest, it is a bit surprising that why is insurance, and that too specifically life and mediclaim, is at a higher rate of 18% and not at the lower rate of 12%, which is primarily for essential services. So is life insurance and mediclaim not essential services? So I would
Very good
say
point.
rather a 12%. Yeah.
Absolutely,
Whether
very good
12%.
point. Since you brought that up, let me quickly throw some numbers out for our viewers. India's insurance penetration stands at about 30%. It is relatively low compared to other countries like the US, which are developed countries where insurance penetration is almost 90%. What does this mean? This means that every time you need to be admitted into a hospital, there is an out-of-pocket expense. In fact, there are various reports that suggest that India has about 62% out-of-pocket expenditure compared to about 10% to 12% for developed countries. Ritesh, essentially, we're paying more out of pocket as opposed to getting insurance because a lot of us feel the burden of paying that premium, which keeps increasing year on year.
No, absolutely right. And interestingly, what has even recently happened is that hospital beds have been made liable to GST. That is another, shot in the arm where your GST cost increases, thereby your insurance cost increases, thereby your insurance premium increases, and thereby the GST on insurance premium increases. So it's in a way a circular effect. You're absolutely right that insurance premiums, the attempt should be to make insurance premiums cheaper as opposed to making them costly. And maybe a 12% rate fits the entire discussion over there.
All right. Before I let you go, an important question, of course, at this point is we know that a 6-member GOM committee is looking into tax rationalization, rate rationalization as far as GST is concerned. They're expected to meet before the GST Council meeting. What is your expectation from the committee? Are we looking at what kind of rationalization are we looking at? And if and when they meet, what would be your ask?
So my knowledge of things is that what they're looking at is converting the 4-rate structure to a 3-rate structure, and there are different models which have been proposed in terms of combination permutation of what could that 3-rate structure be. The idea is, of course, to simplify the tax laws. Now, in a country like India, where you have a lot of essential commodities and services, maybe a 5% may remain, and a 12 and 18 might get merged into a 15%. If that happens, then this entire debate of 18 and 12 honestly doesn't remain.
Okay.
Maybe certain in this context, when this rate rationalization happens, certain products will have to be looked into, certain services would have to be looked into. So what comes to 15, or maybe what gets pushed back to 5, etc. What moves from 5 to 12 or maybe 15 is something which maybe the rate rationalization committee would decide. But the primary objective is bring GST to 3 rates because of the lot of classification disputes that has been happening. And I think 7 years is a good time enough to look at these things. Should have happened earlier, but because of I think the change in the government, there was a change in the constitution, and therefore the delay.
Absolutely, and it's never too late. The demand, of course, of the industry is to bring the 4-rate structure to 3-tier rate structure. There are some suggestions here. Of course, one would be that 8, 16, 24% rate slabs. Others says it could be 9, 18, 27%. Ritesh, before I let you go, which of the two seems more probable to you?
The first one seems more logical, Shweta,
Okay.
but we never know, right? How this could turn
Absolutely.
out.
Absolutely. We never know. We will, of course, try and get you all those details in the next course of GST Council meeting and as and when those details come out. But the idea, of course, of this show is to speak on behalf of a lot of individuals, experts and people who bear out-of-pocket expense for paying for admission into hospitals, for all the eventualities that happen when they get sick in absence of an insurance. Insurance on both life and health is at 18%, which hinders a lot of people from either getting a higher or, getting a bigger cover and getting an insurance altogether in certain cases. There is a call here by Road Transport Minister to get that 18% out completely, to remove GST on these two insurance products, and industry on the other hand is demanding bring it down a little bit, bring it from 18 to about 12%. What will happen, we don't know, but this is of course what people of India are asking at the moment. Ritesh, Kanodia, thank you very much, sir. Pleasure speaking to you. Thank you for joining us here on the show. And with that, it's a wrap. Thank you for watching.